Hello student, welcome to Code to Serve Academy. From today, we are going to start the syllabus for class 10. Okay, so in this lecture, first we'll start with the revision of class 9 topic, then we'll move forward with class 10 topics. Okay, so in the first lecture, we are going to learn about whatever we have learned in class 9. All those topics we are going to cover in this first lecture itself. Most of the topic will be covering up and few other topics will be covering in the upcoming lectures. Okay. So in the first lecture, let's move with the basics of the Java programming that we have learned in class 9. Basically, in class 9th, we learned like what is OOPS. In the first chapter, you might have learned about the OOPS concept. Okay. And then in the second lecture, we started learning about what you say about the elementary concept of class and object. Then we covered the topic of like values and data types and so on. And basically in this first lecture, we'll be covering the first three topics like what is OOPS and the elementary concept of class and object and values and data types. Okay. So let's move forward and let's start with today's lecture. Okay, so if I ask you what is Java, so your something will come into your mind, and once you think about Java, you will most probably think like it is a language. Okay, what most of a student will think like Java is a language. आप लोग को अगर मैं पूछूं what is Java, तो आप लोग क्या सोचेंगे? Java is a language. That is absolutely correct. But apart from that, it's not only a language. ये सिर्फ language नहीं है. Language के साथ साथ ये platform भी है. What is Java? Java is a language. Along with that, it is a platform. What I mean by platform? So platform is something like it is an environment where a programming language or the code can run upon. Okay. If I say I write a code in C++ or any other programming language, it needs a platform where we can run that code. Okay. So what happens in Java, basically in Java, whatever code that we write, we can run in the Java platform itself. Okay, we don't need any other platform to run the same code. All right, so that is why it makes Java, will come about this in later section, why Java is a platform independent, will come about this in the later section. But for now you have to know like Java is a language, along with that Java is a platform. What is platform? Platform I have written over here, a complete environment. It is a complete environment, means out of the box you get everything. Okay, where you can write the code, where you can run the code, where you can compile the code, and where you can see the output of the code that you have written. Got it? Okay, so these all are the benefit of using Java. Okay, now let's move forward. Like, we need to know about the history of Java. So basically what happened in 1991, these were the three people. One is a James Gosling, second is a Patrick, and third is a Mike. These three people were working, they were working as a team. That the team name was a green team. Okay, so what they thought initially, they thought to build something. वो लोग starting में क्या सोचे ना कि हम लोग एक एम्बेडेड सिस्टम बनाते हैं सेट टॉप बॉक्स के लिए जो टीवीज में चलते हैं. ठीक है, तो उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने डिजाइन स्टार्ट किया और उन्होंने पूरा का पूरा एक प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज लिख दिया जिसको हम लोग आज जावा के नाम से जानते हैं. बट ये इनिशियली एक लैंग्वेज की तरह पे नहीं बनाया गया था, ये बनाया गया था सेट टॉप बॉक्स में चलाने के लिए एज ए एम्बेडेड सिस्टम. ठीक है, उन्होंने कुछ और बना रहा था और अभी हम लोग को उसका आउटकम मिला है जो है जावा. ठीक है, तो अब हुआ क्या कि इन्होंने, ये तीन लोग मिलके एक टीम में काम कर रहे थे और इनिशियली इन्होंने स्टार्ट किया बनाने के लिए. तो ये जो सिस्टम इन्होंने बनाया, उस समय के समय में इतने एडवांस ये सिस्टम थे, वो एम्बेडेड सिस्टम इतने एडवांस थे कि वो सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे थे. समझ में आ रहा है कि वो सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे थे उस समय में. तो इन्होंने क्या किया, उस पे और भी ज्यादा वर्क करके और भी रिसर्च करके जब उन्होंने पहला लॉन्च किया तो उसका एक्सटेंशन जीटी था. उसका एक्सटेंशन क्या था? जीटी. जीटी इन्होंने इसलिए दिया क्योंकि इन्होंने जो बनाया उसको पहले क्या इन्होंने बताया, इसे ग्रीन टॉक बताया. इनका नाम क्या रखा गया? ग्रीन टॉक. ठीक है, तो इसीलिए इसका एक्सटेंशन डॉट जीटी रखा. जो भी इन्होंने फाइल बनाया, जो भी कोड किया, उनका एक्सटेंशन क्या था? जीटी. क्यों जीटी था? क्योंकि वो ग्रीन टॉक उन्होंने इनिशियली नाम रखा था. ठीक है, आफ्टर दैट क्या हुआ, उनका नाम उन्होंने चेंज किया, उन्होंने क्या किया, ओक नाम रखा। आफ्टर दैट उनका नाम क्या रखा, वो लैंग्वेज का जो उन्होंने बनाया नाम क्या था, ओक। लेकिन ओक के साथ इश्यू ये हो गया, ओक ऑलरेडी क्या था, एक नेशनल ट्री के तरह पे था, और दूसरा ये रजिस्टर्ड भी था, ठीक है। तो ये लोग जो ऑलरेडी रजिस्टर्ड है वो ये लोग चला नहीं सकते थे या यूज नहीं कर सकते थे। इसके लिए इन्होंने क्या किया, इसका नेम को फिर से इन्होंने चेंज किया, और लेटर लेटर इसका नाम क्या पड़ा, जावा। ठीक है। तो ये कुछ हिस्ट्री थी, आपको जानना चाहिए कैसे ये इवॉल्व हुआ, कैसे ये चीजें चेंजेस हुए, कौन कौन इसमें इन्वॉल्व थे। और इन्हीं सब की वजह से जो मेन पर्सन थे जेम्स गॉसलिन, इन्हीं को हम लोग क्या बोलते हैं, फादर ऑफ जावा। अगर कोई पूछा जाए हु इज नोन एज फादर ऑफ जावा, तो क्या बताना है, जेम्स गॉसलिन। ठीक है। चलिए अब आगे देखते हैं। ये तो मैंने बता ही दिया। इनिशियली ये जो मैंने आपको बताया था वही लिखा हुआ है कि ये इनिशियली किसके लिए बना हुआ था, सेट टॉप बॉक्स के लिए। ठीक है। मेनली ये जावा नहीं बनाया गया था एज अ प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज। ओके, नेक्स्ट। अब हम आगे चलते हैं और इसमें बात करते हैं कि जावा, अभी जैसे हम लोगों ने बताया इट इज अ प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज, तो प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज की भी कैटेगरी होती है। ठीक है। जैसे कि आपका इसमें, आप लोग अगर क्लास 9 में पढ़े होंगे प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम पढ़े होंगे, ठीक है, उसमें आप लोग पढ़े होंगे प्रोसीजरल प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम, ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम। तो उसमें बहुत सारे प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम है। तो ये जो लैंग्वेज है वो किसके अंदर लाई करता है, किसके अंदर लाई करता है, ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम के अंदर। ठीक है। मेनली ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम में होता क्या है, हम लोग यहाँ पे कंसेप्ट जो भी प्रोग्राम लिख रहे हैं इन द फॉर्म ऑफ क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट, हम लोग इसको क्या करते हैं, लिखते हैं या समझते हैं। ठीक है। तो अब यहां पे मेरे पास दो कंसेप्ट आता है, एक हो गया आपका क्लास, ठीक है, और एक हो गया ऑब्जेक्ट। ठीक है। ये दो टॉपिक आप लोग को बहुत अच्छे से समझ में आना चाहिए कि क्लास क्या है, ऑब्जेक्ट क्या है। अब इसके बारे में मैं एक ब्रीफ बता देता हूं, फिर आप लोग इसको अच्छे से आप समझ सकते हैं। आप ऐसे समझिए कि अगर आपको कोई बिल्डिंग बनाने हैं, अगर आपको कोई बिल्डिंग बनाना है, तो आप लोग करते क्या है, पहले आर्किटेक्ट से आप उसका डायग्राम लेते हैं, डिजाइन लेते हैं, ठीक है, फिर एक्चुअली उसे इंप्लीमेंट करते हैं। समझ में आ गया। तो यहां पे जो डिजाइन है, जो ब्लूप्रिंट, डिजाइन का मतलब क्या हुआ, ब्लूप्रिंट हो गया। जो हम लोग ब्लूप्रिंट ले रहे हैं कि कहां पे डोर्स रहेंगे, कहां पे विंडोज रहेंगे, कहां पे एक्स वाई जेड चीज रहेंगे, जो हमने आर्किटेक्ट से डिजाइन लिया, सो दैट बेसिकली दैट डिजाइन इज कॉल्ड अ क्लास। तो इस डिजाइन को हम क्या बोलेंगे, क्लास बोलेंगे। समझ में आ गया। और इस डिजाइन के हेल्प से जो हम लोग रियल वर्ल्ड एंटिटी बना रहे हैं, इस डिजाइन के हेल्प से ये बिल्डिंग जैसे बना है, तो ये डिजाइन क्या हो गया, क्लास हो गया। और इस डिजाइन के हेल्प से जो हमने बिल्डिंग बनाया उसे हम क्या बोलेंगे, ऑब्जेक्ट बोलेंगे। ठीक है। तो इसे क्या हम लोग बोलेंगे, ऑब्जेक्ट। तो अब आपको क्लियर हो रहा होगा कि एक्चुअली में जो हम लोग क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट बोल रहे हैं वो रियल वर्ल्ड में किसे रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं। ठीक है। तो क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट ये क्या कर रहे हैं, रियल वर्ल्ड एंटिटी को सिग्निफाई करते हैं, वो उसके बारे में बताते हैं। क्लियर। तो यहां पे आप देखिए इसमें लिखा हुआ है कि ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम व्यूज अ प्रॉब्लम इन क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट। अभी जैसे बताया हमने कि क्लास एंड ऑब्जेक्ट जो जावा है किस पे डील करते हैं, ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम्स में। और ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड प्रोग्रामिंग पैराडिम्स हम लोग प्रॉब्लम्स को कैसे देखते हैं, क्लास और ऑब्जेक्ट के टर्म्स में देखते हैं। क्लियर है। तो अब इसमें हम लोगों ने क्लास के बारे में भी समझ लिया, ऑब्जेक्ट के बारे में भी समझ लिया। अब हम लोग इसको देखते हैं नेक्स्ट, ऑब्जेक्ट के बारे में। अभी जैसे बताया मैंने कि ऑब्जेक्ट है क्या, ऑब्जेक्ट अभी जैसे हम लोग डेफिनेशन बताया कि रियल वर्ल्ड एंटिटी है, क्या है, रियल वर्ल्ड एंटिटी। तो यहां पे आप देखिए इट इज एन एंटिटी विद अ स्पेसिफिक आइडेंटिटी। मतलब आप ऐसा समझिए, आपका नाम एक्स वाई जेड है, किसी का नाम एबीसी है, मतलब कि हर ऑब्जेक्ट का अलग अलग आइडेंटिटी है। मतलब कि सबका नाम एबीसी नहीं है, सबका रोल नंबर 1 नहीं है। तो हर ऑब्जेक्ट को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए अलग अलग मेरे पास आइडेंटिटी है। मेरे पास क्या है, स्पेसिफिक आइडेंटिटी है, स्पेसिफिक ऑब्जेक्ट को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए। समझ में आ रहा है। मींस रियल वर्ल्ड एंटिटी में जितने भी ऑब्जेक्ट होंगे हम उसे आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं यूनिकली। समझ में आ रहा है। तो जो भी हम लोगों ने बनाया, अभी जैसे मैंने बताया था कि जो ब्लूप्रिंट होगा, blueprint that is what your class, and with that blueprint we are making what, object। तो ये जो ऑब्जेक्ट होंगे क्या होंगे, हो सकता है दो ऑब्जेक्ट बिल्कुल सेम हो, इट्स पॉसिबल। ठीक है। लेकिन हर ऑब्जेक्ट का क्या होगा, एक पर्टिकुलर आइडेंटिटी होगा। अब आप ऐसा समझिए, हर ऑब्जेक्ट का कुछ आइडेंटिटी है, तो क्या होता है कि हर किसी का कैरेक्टर्स अलग होता है और बिहेवियर्स अलग होता है। तो आप ऐसे समझिए कि ऑब्जेक्ट के पास क्या रहता है, कैरेक्टर्स एंड behaviors. That is a character, मतलब कि characteristics. I'm talking about the characteristics. Okay, so here I'm talking about the characteristics, means what your character is, what your thinking, what your personality is. All this will come under characteristics. Okay, and next is the behavior. Behavior means how you behave. Like you take an example, if I say I am switching on the fan, so what is the behavior of the fan? It will start moving. Okay, so that is basically the behavior. Behavior in the sense, in the programming language, means the methods. What it means? Methods. So in programming language, it means the methods. Okay, and in characteristics, whenever I say characteristics, that means it is the data type that class is having. Got it? The data type, it can be any data type, like you have already learned about integer, boolean, and other data type you have already learned in class 9. So all those data type, a class can have n number of data types of its own. So those all data types are collectively called the characteristics. Okay, got it? Like, I will give an example. If I will say, like, is the fan moving? Is the fan moving? What you will say, true or false? Okay, got my point. If I say, you look up and see, like, is the fan moving? So one variable is there, like you can assume it like is moving, and if I make it as false, okay, if I make it as false, so this becomes the characteristics of that class. Suppose one class I have made, and that class is a fan class, and that fan class has one characteristics that tells us, like, is it moving or it is not moving. Got it? So that becomes the characteristics. Got it? Next is the behavior. Now I will say the behavior is like the switch. Okay, whenever you switch on, what happens, the state or the characteristics changes. Okay, here initially it was false, and whenever I switch the button on, what will happen, from false now it will come to true state. Got it? So what is the changes in this class? You see, like, once you switch on the fan, what happened, initially the state was false, now it became true. That means the fan is moving. So you can relate everything, every problem in programming terms in Java, you can view it as class and object. Okay, and whatever problem you will be seeing in the few further lectures and all, you can break down into class and object, and you can find the solution of it. Got it? Now let's move forward. I hope this is pretty much clear to you what object means. Got it? So what object is having, you have to keep in mind, you have to be very clear, like object has two things. One is the characteristics and second is the behavior. I have already told what the characteristics means. Characteristics means the states or all the properties that class is having. This is also called as a state, all the variables. Okay, so you have to remember it as state. Got it? Now next is the method. Method is the behavior of that class. Okay, so what all behavior we can have. Got it? Now next is the, what I have already told you, what is a class. So class is basically the blueprint, what I have told you, right? So class is what, it is a blueprint. Okay, what blueprint is? I have already mentioned about the blueprint. It is the design or the architect that we use for making a building. You can assume it as an example. Got it? So this is basically a blueprint with which we create an object. So what you will say, what is a class? Class is basically a blueprint using which we create an object. And what object is having? Object is having a characteristics and behavior. Got the point? Next. Now, we will learn about some few things that we should know in object-oriented programming, right? So, first term is abstraction. What I mean by abstraction? First, see this dialer. You are seeing the dialer of an incoming phone call. So, इसमें हो क्या रहा है कि जब आप लोग फोन कॉल देख रहे हैं अपने फोन पे, तो क्या आ रहा है, आपको दो बटन दिखलाए जाते हैं। क्या दिखलाए जाते हैं? ईदर टू पिक अप द फोन और ईदर टू cut the phone. Okay, so there is basically two button you are seeing, right? But internally for this button there might be 100 lines of code might be written for this button. Got my point? But you are not able to see these 100 lines of, you are not able to see this 100 lines of code, right? Why you are not able to see this 100 lines of code? Why you are not able to see this 100 lines of code? Basically this 100 lines of code are not shown to you. Pick it up. This 100 lines of code is not shown to you, and that is why you are not seeing. So abstraction means that only. Abstraction is what? Whatever is essential, we will show that only to the user. Got my point? What is abstraction? Will show the user what is required, right? Will not be showing them these 100 lines of code, because the end user might not know what this code is, right? They might not able to understand what this code mean, right? So we are only showing them these two button, but with these two button there is n number of lines of code is written inside that. Got my point? So you have to remember, like, abstraction is what? We are showing the essential feature. Whatever is required for the user, we are showing only that much, and remaining we are hiding from the user. Got my point? So if you are being asked what is abstraction, so you have to say this thing like act of representing essential feature, right? We are showing and only the essential feature what is required, and we are just hiding the background details, means what is not required we are not showing to the user. Got it? That is what, from abstraction we get the concept of data hiding. Got my point? Means data hiding in the sense like what data we need to hide from the user. Got it? So what we learned is basically whatever we show it, that whatever is required that much only we have to show, and whatever is not required we are not going to show to the user. Okay, next if we see, the next feature that we are saying is the encapsulation. Okay, so this one you can understand it as an example like, uh, you have a remote in your hand and you have a TV, right? So what happens whenever you click the button of the remote, what happens, the channel in the TV is changing. Got it? Or if you switch on or off the TV, based on that remote your TV is responding. Got it? So what we are doing, we are wrapping, see, TV is a separate unit and your remote is a separate unit, and you are wrapping both the unit into a single entity. Got my point? So whenever we wrap this to form a single entity, that becomes your encapsulation. Got my point? So what is encapsulation? You think of like this, TV is a separate unit. Okay, now we are trying to get access to the internal working system of the TV, but with directly we are not accessing the TV. With the remote we are accessing. That means indirectly we need to get the access of the TV. You are getting my point? We are not directly going and plugging on the TV or clicking on the buttons on the TV. I'm saying indirectly we have to access it. So to access it indirectly, we have to make both the unit a single unit, and we have to wrap it to make a single unit. That forms encapsulation. Okay, you are getting my point? So what is encapsulation? Wrapping or combining of the data into a single unit. So when we'll learn further in the upcoming lectures, we'll see like whenever we write a class, right? Whenever we'll write a class, so we'll see like we have the data variables that we have, that we already discussed, that object can have what, characteristics, that is the state or the variables that we are using, and the behaviors is the method that we are writing inside the class. Okay, so with this what is happening, we are explaining the concept of abstraction. I already explained you what is abstraction. So abstraction is the conceptual part and encapsulation is the way of implementing it. So in the last topic I told you what is abstraction. What I told you, means whatever is required, that part only will be showing to the user, and what is not required, we are not going to show the user. So abstraction is the conceptual part, means it is basically the concept, and with that concept, whenever we make or we implement it, so that becomes your encapsulation. Got it? So here that is only written like your TV is what? It is a private variable. When we will learn about the uh, I mean so the private, public, and all the access specifier or the modifiers, then we'll come to know about what is private, public, friend, and others specific specifier. Okay. So now you just remember like this: private variable is something like the class can only access. From outside the class, no one can access it. Okay. And what the public variable means? Public variable is anyone can use it, like this classroom, anyone can come and sit in the classroom. Okay. Or the public transport, anyone can use it. And for the private one, your car, your phone, no one can use it apart from you. Okay. So these all are the concepts that we are going to cover up in the upcoming lectures. Now next, third, this is the most important topic that you have to remember, and you must know what is inheritance. Okay, so inheritance is, you can think of inheriting the property from the parents, right? So you can think of yourself like there might be some characteristics or some properties that might be resembling with your parents. Okay, so some properties or some traits or some characteristic or the physical appearance might be matching with your parents. So this is basically inheritance. Okay, so what is inheritance? Inheritance is inheriting the property from parent. Got it? So here there is two concepts. First one is a super class. What I mean by super class? Super class is basically your parent class. Got it? Your parent is what? A super class. Okay, and the second is the subclass. Subclass is basically a child class, means you can take an example of yourself as a subclass. Okay, and parent as a superclass. Here we'll learn about the different types of inheritance. This is not written in your book, but I'm giving example how things are happening and what all inheritance we have in Java, right? So for your exam point of view, this is not important, but for your concept point of view, this is very important. Okay, so you should know what inheritance are supported, what all inheritance are supported in Java. Got it? In upcoming, if in mostly in class 11th, when you will learn about, maybe if you take computer science, mostly then you will learn, or then if not, then you will learn in engineering. Okay, so here you will see one thing: all the arrows, this is very important to keep in mind. All the arrows that will be pointing, it should be pointed toward the parents, like, right? So this is a child class and this is a parent class. So here what we are showing, like this child class is inheriting the property from the parent class, and always we show the arrow from the child class to the parent class. Got it? So in Java, mostly in any programming language, there are different types of inheritance based on the logic how we implement it. That type of inheritance is decided by the logic that how we are implementing it. Okay, so firstly there is a single inheritance. Single inheritance is what? There is one parent, there is one child. Okay, and we are inheriting the properties from one parent. Okay, so this basically forms a single inheritance. Got it? Next is multi-level inheritance. Multi-level inheritance, you can think of your grandfather. Your grandfather means your father inherited the property. You can think this as a grandfather, this as your father, and this as yourself. So your grandfather means your father inherited the property from the grandfather, and you inherited the property from your father. Okay, so this forms a multi-level inheritance, means you are seeing level 1, level 2, level 3. Got my point? So this basically forms a multi-level inheritance. So these two are supported in Java. This is also supported, this is also supported. Okay, next type of inheritance is multiple inheritance. So here I have written it is not supported in Java, but this is absolutely wrong. You cannot say it is not supported in Java, but using class it is not supported. You will learn about class interface. Interface is not there in your syllabus, it will be in the higher classes, but you have to know for now, like using class we cannot implement multiple inheritance. Got my point? So just keep one thing in mind: multiple inheritance is supported in Java, but not using class. It is supported using interface. Okay, you might have heard about this keyword interface. Have you heard? uh, you when you have learned about the data types, there are two types of data type. We'll be covering up in the later section. One was the intrinsic, that is a primitive. Second one was the non-primitive. In the non-primitive, we have interface, arrays, and classes. Okay, so there you might have encountered interface. Okay, if you have not encountered, we'll cover up in the upcoming slides. Okay, so you have to keep in mind this is not supported in Java using class, but it is supported using interface. So here, if you will see the diagram that I have made, here you will be able to see like there is one class that is inheriting the properties from two class. Got it? So if any class is inheriting the property from two different classes, so that forms a multiple inheritance. Okay, multi-level is like level 1, level 2, level 3. Multiple means what? Inheriting from two classes. Got my point? So that becomes multiple inheritance. Next is hierarchical inheritance. So in hierarchical inheritance, you will see here like there is class 1, class 2, class 3. These classes means this class is also inheriting from this one, this class is also inheriting from this one, this class is also inheriting from this one. You can think of this one as your siblings. Means suppose you have brothers and sisters, all brothers and sisters are inheriting from single parents. Okay, so what that means is that basically means it is an hierarchical inheritance. Got my point? So this is also supported in Java. Only one thing that is not supported, there are other inheritance also, but that is beyond your syllabus. That is why I'm not going deeper into it, but at least this much you should know, right? Next. Next is polymorphism. So these all I will suggest not to mug it up. Don't mug it up. Everything that you are seeing here or whatever topic you will be learning, just try to remember with the name what that name is suggesting. You will be able to recall what that topic means, right? Like here the name is polymorphism. Polymorphism. So if you try to think or if you try to give a stress to the word, you will get the point what polymorphism is, right? Poly means what? Multiple, right? Means like poly means multiple form. So here in an example you can see like a person might be working in a company or working in some XYZ office, right? At the same time he might be doing some extra work also apart from the office work, and when he comes back from the office he's also doing the household work. Got it? And also apart from that he might be gardening or planting the tree or whatever stuff is doing. Means a single object or a single identity I'm telling about, a human being or an object, is doing multiple of things. Got my point? Means single person is performing n number of operations. Got my point? So that forms a polymorphism. Got it? So it is what? Ability of the message to be displayed in more than one form. Means if I'm able to display the same stuff in two different ways, same stuff in two different ways, that basically forms polymorphism. Better example is this chameleon. Okay, this basically what is happening based on the surrounding. Means whatever your surrounding is, you might have seen in the videos itself, not in the real world. तो इसमें हम लोग क्या देखते हैं कि ये जो environment, based on the environment, ये क्या करते हैं? अपना color को change करते हैं. Means suppose here there is a green grass or a yellow stuff, anything, it will change the color to match the surrounding. Means suppose the color is green, if the surrounding is green, it will change the color itself to green. If now the surrounding is suppose another thing, it will try to match with the surrounding. Why he is doing so? Why it is doing so? It is basically to hide itself from the surroundings, right? So that no one can see him, right? So if it will match the surrounding color, then no one will be able to find it. Got my point? So that is what it is doing when based on the surrounding or based on the whatever it is in the surrounding, based on that it is changing its color. That means it is showing its multiple nature. Got my point? Now let's move next. With an example, I will show you what polymorphism means in the real coding sense. Like here you see, here is written 5 plus 3, here it will be, okay. So 5 plus 3, here it is written 8. Got my point? And here a plus b is written as ab. So you see, like here is also a plus operator. Okay, here is also a plus operator, and here is also a plus operator. But the same plus operator is performing in two different ways. You are seeing. So this basically is your polymorphism. Got my point? So here what is happening? Here addition is happening, but here concatenation is happening. You might have learned, like whenever we write a string, जब भी हम लोग string लिखते हैं, जैसे एक example, you might not have learned about a string, but I am showing you example. Suppose what happened? Suppose this is a string A, and here is A, B, C. Got it? Now there is a second string B, D, E, F. If I write like this, so we have two variables, one is A, another is B. Now next, if I do A plus B, so based on the data type, what is the data type of A? Data type of A is a string, data type of B is a string. So whenever we do a plus operation, addition operation on a string, either there is one string or both are string, always it will perform concatenation. Got my point? Basically, what I mean by this is, like suppose now you take an example of this as an integer. I will say it like int a is equals to 5. Now, if I do a plus b, the outcome will be something like 5 d e f. Got it? Here, there is no plus operation happening. That means here concatenation is being performed. So, based on the data type, it is performing different type of operations. Got my point? So, this is what your polymorphism is. So, these were the four most important concepts you must know in object-oriented programming language. Okay, next. Next is modularity. So modularity is a concept that we follow. Suppose next, when you will become a software engineer, when you will work for a very big company, suppose you are working for Facebook and you have to design Facebook. Got it? So Facebook on its own is a very huge code base. Code base in the sense, like you can assume there might be 10 lakhs of lines of code might be written to develop Facebook. 10 lakhs of code might be written to develop Facebook. Now you think of, like suppose like button is not working. Whenever you are clicking on the like post, that like button is not happening. So what will happen? So suppose there are hundreds of developers are working to maintain this like functionality in the newsfeed like functionality. Okay. Now whenever that error is happening, a Facebook person or the manager will not go to different team. He will go to the team that is managing the like section. Got my point? So he will go and ask, hey, why this feature is not working? So there is n number of modules written, right? So whenever whatever you see in the setting page, whatever you see in the home page, whatever you see in the comment section, these are basically a different modules, and these all modules are combined together to form a big system. Okay, a platform like the I'm telling about any e-commerce website you take or any social media platform you take, that is a very huge code base. Okay, base we cannot maintain it. So the concept comes is the modularity. If the very complex task, if I'll tell you, you have to construct this building, whole building on your own, can you construct it? Never. So what will happen? You have to break the task and you have to give the task to different persons, right? And different person will do a different task, and when all the tasks are done, you will combine all of them and that will become a full system, right? So this, suppose you can think of uh, okay, and these all are the modules. Module 1 you can think of as module 1, and similarly as 2, 3, 4, 5, there might be hundreds of module to make Facebook. Got my point? So Modularity is what? Dividing a big problem into a simple unit. Okay. So if we are able to divide those big problem into a smaller unit, basically our problem to maintain the code base, or later on, suppose we develop today. So once the code is written, later on, whenever the error or the bugs come, we will only touch that module, will not touch the entire system. Got my point? So that is basically helping us because of modularity. If we don't use modularity, it will be very difficult to maintain the code base. Got my point? Next. Now we are moving towards the second chapter of your class 9. So first chapter, basically we covered up whatever we had learned in class of first chapter of your class 9. So this topic is now we are starting moving towards the second chapter. So in the second chapter, the most important topic was, the most important question was, why Java is platform independent. I told you in the initially, like Java is not only a programming language. Along with that, it is also a platform. What I mean by platform? The entire environment to develop the code, write the code, run the code, debug the code. The environment, the complete environment is called a platform. So why Java is a platform independent? To give this answer, first we have to understand this thing. First, we have to understand the ordinary compilation process. So what initially it was happening, like whenever in the initial days, before Java came into the picture, before that, whenever we wrote any program in any language, suppose whenever we wrote the program, like n number of lines we have written it, so that one, what was happening, suppose you can assume it as a source code, and that source code was written for the Mac, like MacBook, for the Windows, for the Unix, it was written completely in a different code base. The different code base, I mean, for this I have to write a separate code base, for this I have to write a separate code base, for this I have to write a separate code base. For example, like I told you, like you have a Facebook app in your mobile phone. Okay, now what is happening, like this Facebook app, if you are running on Android, it is developed for Android platform. Now next, if you are running on iPhone, it is developed for iPhone. Now if you run on Unix, it is developed for Unix. So what is happening, the same code base you are writing for different platforms. Got my point? Means suppose for this you wrote 1 lakh of code, for this again you have to write 1 lakh of code, and for this again you have to write 1 lakh of code. Got my point? So this was the concept for an ordinary compilation process. Okay, how things was happening in earlier days. Got it? But now with Java, now if you see this diagram, you will get the idea why Java is platform independent. So this picture is very important, I will say, very important. Why? This picture explains the concept why Java is platform independence. Now focus here, like whatever code you write in Java, so what happens, there is a compiler. You know about the compiler and interpreter, okay, that converts the uh, higher level language into a machine level language. Okay, that is the work of compiler. Now you think, like I have written one class, and the class means I have written one code. That code I have named it as code to serve.java. So whenever you write any program and you save it using .java extension. When I was teaching you about like this part, I will again, yeah. When we were in this slide, I told you, like in the earlier days, when they developed one platform or any one thing for the setup box, they named it as Green Talk, and the extension was GT. But now, after I told you, like the name changed to Java, so what is happening now, the whatever the file we are saving with .java. Got my point? Initially when it was developed, it was for, the name was Green Talk, that is why we were saving at .gt, but the name is today name is what? Java. So we are saving that file or the source code using .java. Now you might be using BlueJ. for your writing the code. Okay, so you will see in the BlueJ section there might be an option to compile. You will see one button to compile. Okay, so whenever you click on that button, try to understand what I'm telling. Like whenever you try to click on the compile button in BlueJ or any online compiler, so whenever you click on this compile button, what is happening behind the scene? What is happening? Whenever you click on this gets converted into dot class. What is happening? Whenever you click on compile, that dot Java is getting converted into dot class. Means this is also there. A new file is created with the extension dot class. Got my point? What I'm telling? Like whenever you save the code, it is based on dot Java extension. But whenever you click on that, so you have only one file. But now whenever you clicked on compile, there will be another file with code to serve dot class. This file will be created each time when you click on compile in the BlueJ or any online compiler. What will happen? Another file will be created with the extension dot class. Got my point? So what is happening? You wrote in dot Java extension a file, created one file, and whenever you clicked on that, a new file got created with the extension dot class. This dot class is basically your bytecode. This is what it is, the bytecode. Got my point? So what is happening? So if the question will come, what is bytecode? You have to say bytecode is an intermediate code. What is this? It is an intermediate code between the source code and the machine code. Means what? This machine is not able to recognize what bytecode is. Okay, we need to convert into a machine code. This is what? This is an intermediate code. Got my point? So what is bytecode? Bytecode is an intermediate code. Now come back to the process, what was happening behind the scene. What I told, you clicked, dot class file got created, but this dot class file, I am telling you, this is created by JVM. Okay, this Java virtual machine. So whatever is installed in your system, now you see whenever this bytecode is created, so basically this is created using, there is a platform that we need, JDK. This we need. You don't have to dive deeper into this. This basically means a Java development kit. To run any Java program or anything, you must have to install JDK. That this is what? Java development kit. Without this, you cannot develop or we cannot write any single piece of code on it. Okay. So what happens with this JDK? We get all of this stuff. What we get? We get this JVM. This is the basically the structure of JVM. This is what JVM. It is Java Virtual Machine. This is JVM. JVM. What JVM stands for? JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. Okay. Now come back to this. So what I told you, this we compiled it, got converted into dot class. This dot class is basically a bytecode. Now you come to this picture. This is the architecture of JVM. So if anyone will ask, draw the design or whatever stuff is there in the JVM, you have to draw this and you have to show this. Okay. Now have a look over here. You will see whatever this file got created, first JVM will verify it. What JVM will do? JVM will verify whether the bytecode is correct or not. Okay, like whenever you write the program, there might be any syntax error, there might be a logical error, there might be semantic error, the n number of error that you have learned in class 9. So any error that is there, it will first verify. Who will verify? Bytecode verifier of JVM will verify whether the bytecode is correct or not. Okay. If this, once that it verifies the bytecode is correct, then what happens? There is a JIT. What is the full form of JIT? Can anyone comment it in the comment box? Or can anyone answer here? What JIT means? You have learned in in class 9 what JIT means. JIT stands for just in time compiler. Okay, so this is the name of the compiler given to the compiler. Okay, so what happens? I told you, like whenever we converted this code into a byte code, I mean, we not converted it, JVM converted it, or JDK, what the platform we had. So what happens, it will first verify with bytecode verifier, and after verifying it, JIT compiler, that is just in time compiler, will convert. Suppose you wrote 100 lines of code, 100 lines of code. So what that JIT will do, what the JIT will do, it will convert these all lines of code one by one. It will convert it into a machine code. What it will do, it will convert all the byte code, whatever it got, into machine code. Now, here the most important concepts come that you have to understand. Like initially, what was happening? Initially, what I told you, whenever we have to run on this platform, we were writing the code completely a new code base for this platform, completely new code base for this platform. But here the picture is a bit different. What is different? I told you wrote up in only one language, that is in Java, that is a .java extension. You wrote only once. So you wrote only once, and what happened? This JVM, this is what it is doing. It is creating a new class, and now it is responsible to create the dependent machine code. Now you are not responsible to create a machine code for Mac, or to create a machine code for Windows, or to create a machine code for Unix. Now this JVM is responsible. You wrote in one language, now this JVM will do, he knows like in which platform I am in, like you know where you are, like you are in classroom or you are in somewhere else. So JVM knows where I am installed, whether I'm installed in Mac, whether I'm installed in Windows, whether I'm installed in Unix. Got my point? So whenever it gets the byte code based on the system or based on the platform where it is installed, it will convert this byte code to that dependent machine code. Got my point? Got my point? So what is happening? This byte code will know in which platform I'm running, and based on that, it will convert itself to a different platform. Got it? You can think of this as an intermediator. Suppose you know only English, but there are another persons around you who know only Bengali, who know only Sanskrit, or who know only French. Okay. So what will happen? Whenever you will talk in English, they are not going to understand it. Got my point? So what you will have to do? Either you learn all the three programming, all the three languages, or you hire someone who knows all these three things. You have two options. Got my point? Either you learn yourself all the languages and you deliver it to them one by one, like what was happening in the earlier older programming compilation process, or you hire someone like the JVM. You hire someone who knows everything, means all the three languages. Got my point? What it will do, you told him, you explained him in your own language. Like here, you wrote the code in your own language, the language that you know. Got my point? And based on that, the person you hired as a translator, what it will do, they are going to transform the code to the language they know. Got my point? So your work is over. Your work was what? To make them understand in their own language, right? So what you did, you hired someone and you told him in your own language you were comfortable with, okay, and that person was responsible to make them understand into their native language. Got my point? So this is why Java is platform independent. Got my point? So this is very, very important question for your board exam as well, for your class 9 concept, whatever you should know. So this was a very important concept that you should probably know. Got it? I don't think you might have doubt. Anyone having doubt? No one, right? So let's move towards the next topic. We are seeing the first program. You know, you might have done n number of code, but let's see the first basic program. So here you see, like whenever we see like this type of double slash, this slash, two forward slash, so this is a single line comment. So what comment is? Comment is basically you are writing for yourself or for other developers. Suppose today you are working for Facebook, right? Tomorrow you will be working for Flipkart or Amazon. So you wrote this code when you were working in Amazon or Facebook, and after a few years you left the company and you switched to another company. Got my point? So whatever logic you have written, Now, on the same logic, when some another guy comes in, he will try to do some changes in this. So he has to understand what you have written and what this code is about. Basically, we write comment to make other people understand, or for ourselves to keep a note what we are trying to achieve with this. Got my point? So basically, comment is whatever we write, it is not being interpreted or it is not being compiled by any programming language. Got my point? Comment is what? It is being skipped. So whenever the compilation process starts, it starts line by line, line by line, line by line, and it is going to miss this. It is not going to execute all this. It is not going to execute all this. Execution will start from here. Got my point? So these all things, Java or any other programming language you take, it will skip those stuff and it will start compiling or interpreting from here. Got my point? So here, when you see the syntax, you see in different colors. So whatever you see in blue colors, it is basically a keyword. Got my point? So whatever you see in blue colors, it is keyword. You might have known, you might know n number of keywords. So mostly you see here a class, a public keyword, a static, void. So you might be knowing all the meaning, what it signifies. Still, I'm trying to explain you again. Okay, uh, have a look over here. With the keyword, with the class, we generally use to create a class. Okay, the blueprint, what I was talking about, the blueprint that we are creating or the class that we are creating will use the keyword class. And after that there is a name. This is what it is, a name, name that we give to any class. Okay, so there is some set of rules we'll be covering next. After this, there is some set of rules using which we have to give a name to a class. We cannot give anything, we cannot name it as anything, right? Like, we cannot name it as 9 main. This is invalid. Okay, so there are some set of rules that we are going to learn next. What are the rules to give a name to an identifier? Okay, so this is basically identifier. This is what it is, identifier. So identifier is what? Identifier is what? The name given to anything that we can identify it. Okay, so this is basically an identifier. We are giving the name to a class. Next, if you'll see over here, next is a keyword that is public. Public, once we learn about, means we'll be covering up in the later section of your class 10 syllabus. This is basically a access specifier or an access modifier. What is this? This is an access specifier or access modifier. So this basically gives the visibility. This gives the concept of visibility. If we are writing here as public, that means anyone can access this. Got my point? If I write is private, only this class can access it. Like when I was talking about inheritance, I was showing you like one class is inheriting the property from another classes, right? That means what? It was trying to access all the classes of the parent or the child, right? So in that case, when you write a public or you write a private, you write a protected. So these are some of the access specifier that we'll be learning in the later lectures. So these are called as access specifier. For now, you keep this point. Okay. Now this static also you might have learned in the previous classes, I'm not sure, but the static keyword, it is something, I don't think you will understand it right now, but again I'm giving example. Like suppose I'm trying to create one class, like suppose this is class student. Okay, so in this student class, suppose I'm trying to keep the name of the student, I'm trying to keep the roll number of the student, I'm trying to keep the marks of the student. So suppose there is three variable, let this be int roll, this be int suppose mark of any one subject I'm talking about. Next, think of the school name. Next, think of school name. So this will be a string. So string, what is string? Combination of characters. and the string is always written in double quotes. Okay, character is written in single quotes. Okay, so string suppose is a school name. School name. See here you will see the naming convention, how I am writing the variable name. Always you should write in camel case. Camel case is what? Whenever you have two words, first write the word in a small letter, right? Everything, and the next letter that you are next word that you are assigning it, it should be in a capital letter, the first character of the second word. Okay, so this gives a better concept when it means whatever you are writing, whenever the other users or the other programmers, when they will read it, they will easily understand what you mean, right? A school name. Got it? So you think of like this. So your roll number is 1 or 2 or 3, or suppose another thing is a class, int. You cannot write a class. You cannot write class. Class is a predefined keyword. You cannot use it. So you have to use any other words like a class, uh, or a standard. You can use anything, or class uh, 1 I will give. You can use now this. You can use class 1. Okay. So you see, like here, there is n number of variables I have created. Here you see, like all these things will be different for different users or the different students. These all things will be different. But for Denobly school or any XYZ school, all this school name will be same. Getting my point? This will be same for every student studying in your school, but these all value will change. So whenever you have this type of concept, where you have to keep anything static, that is the keyword static. Whenever you have to keep it as a static, that means same for every object. Got my point? This is a structure, this is a blueprint to create one user or an object like you. Okay, so suppose this is ABC student, this is XYZ student. This student has also 1 2 3 4 property. This student is also having 4 properties, but these 3 properties are different for all of them, and one property is common for both of them. Getting my point? So this common property that I am talking about is basically your static variable. Got my point? So static can be applied to a variable or to a method. Got my point? Static can be applied to a variable as well as a method. Okay, so this static will create a single reference will be created. Even if you create hundreds of objects, doesn't matter. All the 3 variables will be created here. 3 new variables will be created, but this variable will be created only once for the entire student of your class, of entire student of your school. Got my point? And this will get the reference, this will also get the same reference, this will also get the same reference. Got my point? So whenever you need this type of concept, then you are going to use the concept of static. Got my point? So for now, you keep in mind, like static can be applied to class, means of method, or to a variables. Got my point? So next keyword, if we see, so you got the idea what static is. Void. So here basically this means a return type. This is what? A return type. What I mean by return type? Like suppose you are going for anyone's birthday party, right? You are taking some gift for him or her. Okay, so what is happening? In return you might be getting some gift. Okay, might be getting some gift, or you might not be getting a gift. Okay, so if you are not getting a gift, that means it is a void. What it means? Void. Void means nothing is being returned. Void means what? Nothing is being returned. Suppose you got some integer value. Suppose you got 1 as a return gift. Okay, or you got ABC as a return gift, or you got character A as a return gift, or you got true as a return gift. Okay, so these mean you have some type of returns. Okay, so void means no return, nothing is being returned from this method. Okay, Whenever you have 1, 2 or ABC, that means your return type will change. So for this, return type will be int. For this, it will be a char. For this, it will be a string. For this, it will be a boolean. Got my point? So whenever you know like this method is going to return any specific data type, then instead of void, you will write that data type. Like here, if I'll say int, that means this function must return an integer variable. Like if I wrote here int, I have to return, I have to return any integer variable like 1, 2, 3. If I'll not write this one, it will give error. So if there is int, I have to return integer. If that is a boolean, I must return true or false. If that is a character, I must return any character. Got my point? So this basically is a return type. Next is your method. So how you can identify anything is a method or not? Whenever you see any name, like suppose here you see a main, so after the name, you see a parenthesis, the parenthesis opening and a closing parenthesis, you should always remember that this is a method. This is what? A method. So how you can identify a method? With any word or any keyword, if there is any parenthesis being attached to it, that is a method. What is method? It is basically a function, right? Method or function are pretty much same thing. Okay, so this is pretty much clear. Now next is like whatever you see over here, these all are the arguments. What is this? Arguments. Means with this function, in this function, I'm passing something. Like in the last class, you might have learned about the mathematical library function like pow function, floor function, ceil function. So you are passing something like to the floor function, you are passing 3.5, suppose you are passing something like this. So here you are passing some arguments. So this argument here, from where you are passing, this is called actual. This is called actual argument. This is called what? Actual argument. You will learn about this in upcoming chapters. So this is called the actual argument, and this is called the formal. Actual and formal. Okay. Now you see, whenever we call this function, we pass some arguments. Okay. So suppose whenever we run the main, means whenever we click on run, internally it is calling the main function. It is calling the main function, and with that main function, they are passing some of the arguments to it. So whatever arguments we are passing, it will get captured into this args. So you have to remember this args is our name. We can write ABC also. You don't be in confusion, like we have to always write args. This is a arg, that is a name we are giving, right? So you can write a string ABC and you have to give an array sign. Got it? This is basically represent whenever you see rectangle braces, this is what it is for function. It is for function or method. Okay, whenever you see a rectangle braces, this is an array. You in the last year, you might not have learned about arrays you will learn in this class 10th. Okay, so for now you just remember this rectangle braces means an array. Got it? Now next is the starting. Whenever you have a function, you'll always have a starting parenthesis, the curly parenthesis. Okay, curly braces. Okay, so whenever you write a function, you have to write curly braces, right? So in this curly braces, this becomes your body of the function. This is what? Body of the function. Okay, so this is what? A body of the function. In this body, we write our logic. Got my point? So whatever logic we have to write for any program, we are going to write it over here. So in the later lectures, we'll learn how to create our own function. This is a function what? This is a predefined function. Okay, this is the main method is already written by Java developer, right? So we'll learn later in the section like how to create our own method. Now next we'll wrap it up. Let's try to complete one or more two slides. So here I already told what is comment. I already told what is classes. I already told about the main method. What main method is? It is a predefined method, right? So whenever you click on the run button, after compiling in your BlueJ, you will see a run button. Whenever you click on run, internally BlueJ will call this main method. Got it? Next is a code statement. Code statement is what I told you here, the body. So basically here we write the code. And one more thing you have to keep in mind, whenever we write a statement, whenever we write any statement, we have to close it using semicolon. This is very much important in this programming language. When you will learn JavaScript, I'll show you a small glimpse. Like whenever you write in any other programming language, like JavaScript, so suppose I am writing const a is equals to 5, let b is equals to 10. In many programming language, there is no need to write the semicolon. Got it? So today you are learning one programming language. Tomorrow you might be learning hundreds of programming language, right? So you have to keep the concept of one programming language. The same concept is there in every programming language. Only the naming or the how we name it that changes. Here, like if I'll give you an example of JavaScript, this is an example of JavaScript. You are learning Java. This we write in JavaScript. Here, instead of int, we are writing const. Const is a constant variable. We cannot change it. Now we cannot change a equals to 6. This will give an error because this has been declared as a constant variable, right? Now here, if you see b, now if you are trying to write b is equals to 20, this is valid, but that is invalid. Here, whatever Java you are learning, that is a strictly typed language. What is that? Strictly typed language. Means whatever the container or whatever the type you are creating, you cannot change it later on. But in other programming language, suppose this type was integer, this is also integer, the type is integer. Now next in B, if you want to store A, B, C, in JavaScript, this is possible. Means whenever you write in one, you create one variable and you assign it to one particular data type, that is an integer data type, and later on if you want to change it to some another data type, that is not possible in Java, but that is possible in JavaScript and also Python or other programming language. The programming language that are loosely typed, you have to keep two things in concept, like you have to know this, like there is a strictly typed language and there is a loosely typed language. So Java that you are learning is a strictly typed language. You cannot change the type of any variables. But whenever you learn any loosely typed language, that is a Python or a JavaScript, right? So there you can change the type of any of the variables. Got it? So this thing you will try to relate once you learn other programming language. In most probably in class 11th you will be learning about the Python. So if you take computer science, got it? So remaining topics we'll cover in the upcoming classes. Okay, so I think we are pretty much good for this lecture. Okay, if you have any doubt, you do comment it in the comment box, and we'll try to give you answer. Okay, thank you.